Okay, so today I want to talk about building a better halftime shuffle. And I'm using halftime shuffle as shorthand for the Purdie shuffle, which many of us are familiar with. And of course, that is one of the greatest grooves of all time. Super fun to play. A lot of us know it, but I feel like there's more to be explored. We know of all of these popular variations like Rosanna, Jeff Porcaro, John Bonham on Fool in the Rain, but I want to talk about some of the techniques that we can use to modify whatever is the quote-unquote classic Purdie shuffle to make it something maybe slightly more interesting or at least slightly more unique to us. So I've got a chord progression that I'm going to be working with, and for me at least it's important to have some sort of melodic or rhythmic structure to work around to know kind of how your shuffle is going to fit in context. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to build the basic kick snare pattern around my chord progression. So this is a 4-measure loop. So this kick and snare pattern is going to be fairly similar to what most people play when they play a Purdie shuffle, but there are going to be some slight variations that are just going to be added in to sort of emphasize what the chord progression is doing. So let's listen to just the basic Purdie shuffle on the hands, and then my kick and snare pattern is matched up to the chord progression. Okay, so now that we've done that, now things can get a little more interesting. And right off the bat, I'm going to sort of break one of the fundamental rules of the Purdie shuffle or the halftime shuffle, and I'm going to break the shuffle rhythm. So I'm not going to be playing da 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 the entire time. It's going to be sort of a mixture of almost like a hybrid between the shuffle and the jazz ride pattern. So I'm going to leave Groovescribe links, and there will be sheet music so that you can see exactly what I'm doing with all of this. But what I'm going to do now is show you the modified hand pattern with the same kick and snare pattern underneath. And hopefully you can hear how it sort of accentuates the chord progression even more than just the kick and snare pattern. So now it's really starting to sound like its own thing, and I don't want to make it seem like the specific hand pattern that I've created is the one that you should use. Really, it's just the idea that you can modify that hand pattern in many different ways and still keep the sort of halftime shuffle feel. So for example, the double paradiddle played in triplets perfectly makes a great halftime shuffle feel on its own. So there are all sorts of sticking patterns that you can work with. This is just the one that came to mind for me and that I thought sounded cool. Okay, in the last step here, I'm going to go a little bit overboard and I'm going to start adding in different embellishments. And I've got a few different ideas that I'll sort of cram all into this 4-measure progression. But one of them is that you can do different things with the left hand. So instead of the left hand always playing an accent on 2 and 4 or always ghosting, you could play an accent somewhere else than 2 and 4. I've got one of those in there. You could also have that left hand, instead of playing a ghost note, you could have it whip up to the hi-hat and play an extra little triplet on the hi-hat. I've got that in there at the end as well. And then just for good measure, I've got an open hi-hat in there, which is always fun. So let's see what that's going to sound like. Now we can totally see how this is something that feels familial to the Purdie shuffle, but is totally unique to me and what I've built for this chord progression. And again, the idea I'm trying to get across here is that these are all modifications and possibilities that are open to you that you could add in any way. And the Groovescribe is a great way to be able to build these up and hear what they're going to sound like before you have to learn them. So like I said, I'm going to include Groovescribe links. You can take the groove that I've made and modify it, or you can just take the original Purdie shuffle and start making little tweaks, seeing how it would sound, and then that gives you practice fuel. So hopefully this gives you some seeds of ideas to work with. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.